Have you ever really thought about how a simple blade of grass can power a massive cow? Or how a scoop of feed becomes the energy for a dog to chase a ball? Well, today we're going to follow that incredible journey, right from feed to function, and uncover the biological magic that turns a meal into life itself.
So here's our game plan. We're going to trace this journey through 5 key stages. We'll start at what I like to call the body's disassembly line. Then we'll check out the liquid machinery of chemicals and enzymes. After that, we dive deep into the cellular powerhouse to see how energy is actually made. Then we'll see how that energy fuels growth and behavior. And finally, we'll meet the unsung heroes of the whole operation, vitamins.
You know, it's so much more than just chewing and swallowing. Not even close. It's this biological masterpiece of deconstruction and reconstruction. And our first stop on this tour, the ultimate disassembly line.
Right. Before any animal can use its food, it has to take it apart. I mean, piece by tiny piece. And that process, that's digestion.
At its heart, digestion is this super efficient sorting process. It meticulously deconstructs food to pull out all the valuable stuff, the nutrients, and then it just gets rid of the rest. Honestly, it's less like eating and more like refining crude oil into high-octane fuel for the body.
And what's so cool is how nature designed different systems for different diets. Take ruminants, like cows. They need this really complex, 4-chambered stomach to ferment and break down tough plants. But then you have monogastrics, like a pig or a dog, with a much simpler, single-chambered stomach that's just perfect for their more varied diet. Form follows function, right?
Now, this whole breakdown process isn't a one-trick pony. It's more like a coordinated 3-pronged attack. First up, you've got the mechanical action, the grinding, the churning. Then comes the chemical assault with all these acids and enzymes. And finally, at least for many animals, an entire army of microbes joins the fight, breaking down the toughest bits through fermentation. Okay, let's zoom in on that chemical process, because this is where the real molecular magic happens. It's all thanks to this potent cocktail of digestive juices.
And this whole thing is all about teamwork. It kicks off in the stomach, where gastric juice starts to dissolve proteins. Then, as the food moves along, the pancreas sends in its own powerful juice to tackle fats, carbs, and more proteins. And right at the same time, bile from the liver swoops in and acts like a detergent, breaking up big blobs of fat into tiny droplets so the enzymes can get to work.
Let's just take a second to appreciate that stomach acid. It is not just some corrosive liquid. It's a master regulator. It acts like a bouncer at a club, killing off any harmful bacteria that try to sneak in. But it also holds the key that turns on the main protein-digesting enzyme pepsin, and it creates the perfect acidic stage for it to do its job.
And once that acidic environment is just right, pepsin gets to work. You can think of it like a molecular pair of scissors, just snipping these long, complicated protein chains into smaller, more manageable pieces called polypeptides. And believe me, this is just the first cut in a very long process. All right, so the food has been disassembled, the nutrients absorbed. But these raw materials, they aren't actually energy. Not yet. So how does the body turn these simple molecules into the power that, well, keeps the lights on? For that answer, we have to go inside the cell.
This entire incredible process is called metabolism. It's a concept so central to life, it has a name in every language. In Bengali, for instance, you'd call it bibak kriya. Just picture a bustling city of chemical reactions happening inside the body, constantly either building new things or breaking down fuel for energy.
So you can think of metabolism as a two-way street. On one side, you have catabolism. That's the demolition crew, breaking down nutrients to release energy. On the other side is anabolism. That's the construction crew, using all that energy to build and repair things, like muscle. One provides the power and the other puts it to work.
You know the old saying, you have to spend money to make money? Well, it's the same thing with energy. The process kicks off with a stage called glycolysis. It splits a single sugar molecule, and it doesn't even need oxygen. The payout is tiny, but it's super fast, a net gain of just 2 units of something called ATP. Think of ATP as the rechargeable batteries that power literally everything inside a cell.
But listen, that little 2 ATP, that's just the appetizer. When the rest of that sugar molecule gets processed through the cell's main power plants, which do need oxygen, the energy payoff is absolutely staggering. The final count is around 36 ATP. That's an 18 times return on the initial investment. It's this incredible efficiency that makes complex, active animals possible.
Okay, so all this cellular energy is great, but so what? What does it actually do? How does a tiny molecule of ATP translate into a running, growing, living animal? Let's connect the microscopic world to the one we can actually see.
An animal's genetic code is basically the blueprint for what it could be, but it's nutrition that provides the building materials and the work crew. Without the right energy and nutrients from food, that incredible genetic potential can never be fully realized.
And that ATP, it's the universal fuel for everything. And I mean everything. It's not just for running and jumping. It powers the growth of muscles and bones, the constant repair of tissues, the immune system fighting off germs, and even the firing of every single neuron in the brain.
And this brings us completely full circle. The very behaviors we see every day, like a cow grazing in a field, are all driven by this deep biological need to get the raw materials to produce more ATP. Behavior is the engine, and the hunt for energy is the fuel. But energy isn't the whole story. The big nutrients, the carbs, the proteins, they're the fuel, for sure, but you need a whole crew of tiny helpers to make the engine run smoothly. So let's talk about the unsung heroes of this story: vitamins. Vitamins are basically the spark plugs of metabolism. They aren't burned for fuel themselves, no, but they are absolutely essential for those energy-releasing reactions to even happen. You only need them in tiny amounts, but their impact is gigantic. For example, take vitamin E. This whole process of metabolism, as amazing as it is, can create some damaging byproducts along the way. Vitamin E acts like a bodyguard, an antioxidant, protecting the cells from that damage. Without it, you can get conditions like white muscle disease, where the very muscles that power the animal start to break down.
And you can see just how specific their jobs are when you look at vitamin A. It's a key ingredient for the light-detecting pigments in the eye. Without enough of it, an animal literally can't produce what it needs to see in the dark, and that leads to night blindness. It's just a powerful reminder that a tiny deficiency can have huge, real-world consequences.
So, let's go back to our big question. Is the blueprint for an animal's health hidden in its feed? After seeing this whole incredible journey, from the mechanical grinding all the way down to the chemical dance inside every single cell, the answer is a definite, resounding yes. The quality of a meal isn't just about feeling full, it's about providing the information and the energy that truly dictates health, growth, and life itself.